It's 9 o'clock. Are we all ready?
Yep.
All good? Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to call this meeting order. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I still believe.
A second.
What, we need to remove one thing.
Oh, C,
The rock petition needs
Yeah.
to come off of there.
5C is not gonna work today, this morning, so that's right. So approve the agenda
Approve
with,
the agenda with the removal of item C.
okay, 5C. Second that?
I second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's say pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up, we have a public comment.
Good morning, Sherry Hunter down by Blanchard. There was one thing I wanted to ask about. Somebody had been mentioning a road south of Shenandoah. It's B
B Avenue. Yep.
B Avenue.
I saw that, yeah.
And so I just wanted to ask when JD comes up here, maybe he can say whether, because I didn't know when he was asking about it, whether it's ever on a plan or if there was any thing in the works to fix that road and the bumpiness and potholes and things like that. The next thing I would like to talk about this morning is just the rumor mill. I don't want to talk about the rumors, but there's a lot of accusations, like so bad and baseless accusations. I just want to say, like on August 31st at that meeting, Judy said that Jacob called our auditor crazy. But when I watched the video, it was just misworded. Sometimes we can hear things and we assume or whatnot. But saying things like that, then everybody says that, you know, like, well, Jacob thinks this of whatever, or this Todd thinks this of whatever. So that's sometimes how rumors get started. He actually said that he felt like the way the minutes were being handled was crazy. Not that our auditor was crazy. At the same meeting, Judy also stated that Jacob called her stupid and told her to shut up, which I think it was somebody actually in the audience that maybe shouted that or something. But again, I couldn't find any documentation of Jacob ever saying something like that. I know it's frustrating, bantering back and forth, but that's the beauty of politics. I know it's a frustrating thing, but the beauty of politics is negotiating. I love the different points of view. I love it. Negotiating, discussing it, that's all part of it. Where we get in trouble is when we get offended and we assume things and then we say things and then people think those things are true. We can't keep hurling false and unfounded accusations without solid evidence. It's like rampant out in our community. Things need to be clear. Provide a place, like if you're going to accuse somebody, provide a place, time, context, or you need to resign from your position. Document it or step down. We are all innocent until proven guilty, except in the eyes of those who pervert justice. A few questions that I have, and I don't know if you can answer these or not. The accusation filed against supervisors Todd and Jacob, which Judy removed her name from this. Has it been completed?
That's confidential, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think we're allowed to discuss.
Okay, all right, well, I wasn't sure, thanks. So then you can't answer whether it's been founded or not,
No.
but you can't even answer whether the investigation has been.
No.
Can we contact anyone to find out that information?
I don't believe so at this time.
That's something we're looking into. Trying to-
Okay, because I think that's something that public needs to know. Jacob and Todd, have you been ordered to take any additional training because of any outcomes?
We can't.
You can't talk about any of that.
Yeah.
All right, so when it's all done, will people know, or is that always going to be confidential?
It's a
I
personnel
assume
issue,
it's-
so it's probably confidential.
Yeah, I assume it's all gonna be.
Wouldn't you think that the public would want to know that? Everybody's assuming it's true. That's why I'm saying.
Right.
Like when I go to town and people talk to me, they're assuming
I know.
it's truth. See, we can say anything we want to about anybody. We can. But if we don't document it, man, it causes, you guys are sitting in a seat that is so important. And Judy, you've said that you're embarrassed of this county. Well, I just don't. I was talking with Jacob at a funeral and I mentioned something and he said, oh, no, no, no. Judy didn't do that. And he set the record straight. He could have slandered you to me. And he was like, no, she was so helpful. She gave me a tour of the courthouse. I was really looking forward to working with her. He could have. And I've heard Jacob do that about other pastors and I've always heard him say, no, 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 I'm not going to go down that road. And I get really tired when people say people are a toxic way, but they're really not. They're just difficult to work with because they have an agenda to save us money. Anyway, I got off. So I don't want any more slander or baseless accusations. If you're going to accuse somebody of something, you got to say when, where, and the truth, not feelings. The other thing I would like to say is a few weeks ago at the meeting, Judy, you brought up being concerned about Jacob being with Cindy in the courthouse, treating her like an employee. And you kind of upbraided him for showing Cindy around the courthouse. But I want to know, what codes did he break?
She's not an employee, but he was treating her like an employee. And she has not completed the paperwork, so she is not on the payroll. If something would happen to Cindy when she's working in that capacity that Jacob was taking her,
Yeah, but
It
is
could
that a
come back.
code? Is that a code?
it's not code, it's personnel issues.
Well,
There are certain HR things.
well, and I understand that, but every time I've ever applied for a job, they've treated me like an employee. They've showed me around. They've let me look in their filing cabinets to see what music they have. Like it really caught me off guard, and I have not stopped talking or thinking about it ever since, because it just frustrated me. Is that something you could have said to him in private?
I don't know whether I could have.
It's
or
just
not.
interesting that you chose a public place with a microphone and a stenographer to say something like that, instead of being helpful and just saying, hey, I'm worried about this, because it's a personnel issue, but I don't see what code has been broken.
It's not the code, it's an HR issue. And there are different things in government than there are in the private sector. And I think that it's hard to explain.
Is there anything in our HR code that, I mean, I read the HR book, but I didn't know if there was something that said, don't be bringing people around. Cause if I wanted to.
It's putting the county in jeopardy by treating a person as an employee when she isn't an employee.
But what if,
Okay.
what if I wanted him to show me around the courthouse?
That's fine.
Well,
You're
how-
a person, you're a citizen,
Well, so is.
but he was bringing her in the capacity
No,
to show her where the agenda needs to be put and things like that. And it's
so
not,
explaining the job that she's seeking to get.
she wasn't, yes.
All right, and then the other thing, thank you for clarifying that, your stance on that. You mentioned whether or not Cindy would pass the necessary physical exam. I don't have your quote on it. So there is a physical exam you have to,
Yes, all
So-
employees have to do it.
so is Page County, like, they're not an equal opportunity, like, can
Yes,
they
but you
have
still have to do
disabilities?
certain things.
Well, you made it sound like if she couldn't get healed up, then she wouldn't be able to get
It
a,
has nothing to do with that part. It has to do with the physical capacity exam that she has to take. Just like every county employee. These are personnel issues, Sherry.
well, maybe they shouldn't have been brought up at a public meeting then.
Personnel issues.
Don't get aggravated with me. I have questions. I'm able to
Personnel
ask questions.
issues are dealt with the HR people. They have to fill out certain applications. They have to complete the exams. They have to do these things in order to be hired and paid by the county.
I'm just saying, the way I perceived what you were saying is she might not even be able to have the job if she doesn't pass this
That's
exam.
true. If she doesn't pass the physical capacity, she may not,
So
because
Page
the
County
employees in
then
Page County have to have it.
So
No.
Page County, well, it's one
There-
or the other. You
there-
can't say both.
There are certain things that county employees, hired county employees have to pass.
There are certain things a county servant should say in a microphone and certain things they shouldn't. And you need to start doing it.
I'm trying to explain it to you. There are things in the personnel policy that say they have to pass certain tests.
So they
Every county,
discriminate.
no, there's a protection for employers. And in our personnel policy, it says what has to be done in order for a person to be hired by the county.
Well, I understand that. I'm just saying.
So no,
this-
it's not discrimination, it's protection for the county.
As far as coming
Alright.
up in here, and what you're saying about,
But was she on the clock and was she getting paid?
No.
So she was not being treated like an employee. She was treated like job shadowing.
visitor
No.
job share, yeah,
Yeah.
and this was in our room here, came in here to use the internet, and just kind of watch how things work. So, there's any person in Page County coming to this courthouse when it's open, especially if one of us is with them. So, yeah, it's no
Okay.
big deal.
And then, Ron Richardson, when I was talking with him, he suggested, well, why didn't they hire Cindy as a contractor instead of an employee? Were you aware that that was an option? Any of you?
I was on.
Were you?
I'm not paying any attention to that part of it. I mean, that's, Jacob put the thing out there, and that's how he wanted to hire her.
Okay, did you personally, see Cindy with Jacob at the courthouse that day?
No, but other employees did.
So they called you?
Well, yes, because I'm a county supervisor.
Do you see the cattiness?
Do I
Do you
see
see
what?
the stirring the pot?
No, I don't see stirring the pot. I see the protection of the county. That's what we're here for, is protecting the county.
Hmm.
Are you stirring the pot right now, Sherry? First
I'm
of all,
not, I have questions, legitimate questions.
may I go back and answer one question
Yes,
for you?
sure.
In the August 31st meeting, I was referring to the meeting in Des Moines,
Yes, I understand that.
and there are other people who heard what was said.
One of them was Todd, he was there.
There were other counties.
That's just
that
hearsay.
heard it. No, it's not hearsay.
Then you
I
have
was
to prove
sitting
it.
there.
So was Todd and so was I. And we both spoke on that, so then what?
I have
Montgomery County,
never,
Mills County.
this is language I know, Jacob.
This,
know-
this is just, you're just bringing up things that are trying to stir the pot, and
I'm not, no,
Yeah.
I was curious. I was curious about
Okay.
what she had to pass
that's your question.
and what code she had
Yeah.
broke and where you're coming up with this. Like, Jacob could bring up all sorts of stuff about how you're doing things.
And that's
or
fine. Go ahead,
in a microphone.
whatever.
Okay, so this is just what I want to bring up. There's two types of people in this world. People that build others up and people that tear others down. People that correct with kindness or people that slander and do things to be noticed. And I'm getting really tired of hurling accusations and upbraiding one another when these are things that if you really wanted to help, and if you really are, which I do believe, you know your stuff, but I don't see that you're helping. I see that you're waiting until somebody stumbles to fall. And that is what a toxic environment is. And I'm incredibly disappointed. I wrote your name in the ballot. It's so much hope. And I'm tired of baseless accusations constantly. Jacob is a friend of mine. I've known him ever since we started having babies. And I know his character. And we're getting a light on everybody's character. But I'm tired of the slander. And I'm tired of things that you can do in private. And my taxes have gone way up. I looked at the jail thing and I was like, oh, this year we paid this when we bought our house and it's went this way and this way and this way. And so that's the other thing I just wanted to mention really quick is Can you just get the numbers before you vote for something? Can you just do everything you can to save the county money? Because listen, if it continues in another 10 years, I don't think I can afford my home. I should not have to pay rent taxes on my home, hundreds of dollars a month to the county. That without thinking buys really expensive chairs instead of looking at other options. That isn't worried about whether windows fit. They're just going to go forward. We got to go forward. We got to move forward. We got to move forward. And sometimes you just have to say, we can't afford it. We cannot afford it. And I would never say, man, I can't afford pizza tonight, so I'm just going to take the money out of my kids' wallet. I'll still go ahead and enjoy my life while taking from my children. Well, in a way, we're all trusting you to spend our money. And we want our money's worth. And stop slandering, stop baseless accusations. And if you can encourage or correct, do it in private first. That's what the Bible says. Go to the one man. They don't listen, bring a friend. They don't listen, then you do it publicly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have public comment? Yeah.
On that, Tom Wagner, on that particular subject, those allegations were made to you by somebody? Did you contact the attorney, county attorney, the attorney that the county has on retainer to check into the allegation that he was treating her like an employee? Was that done?
Didn't have to, Tom. He was bringing her in to show her
Okay, so
the
without,
things that a clerk would do.
okay, so without consulting legal, you in the public meeting give another supervisor a sermon or an opinion of yours. Is that correct?
I was simply stating what needs to be done to protect the county.
Is that your opinion, or were you?
I was stating what needed to be done to
Was there any
protect the
legal-
county.
Was there any legal advice that you received to warrant your interaction with another
I'm
supervisor?
done, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? If not, JD, no.
JD King, Page County Engineer. Thanks for holding this meeting this morning to handle this contract. There's a contractor's interested in getting to work here. So the engineer update was sent out Tuesday evening. You got blades out, we're hauling rock with a couple of trucks, we're mowing pavements and gravels. Have a brush mower on the skid steer, mowing brush. At intersections, the pipe crew was down on 260th, where we took out a bridge and put in a railroad car or a railroad tank car. That should be finished, and we worked over the intersection at Teak and J55. Excuse me. With a slip liner there, and also at 310th and Q. Looks like a winter might show up just for a moment. Remind us it's out there over the weekend here. We do have one truck remaining for our winter service. They're hanging snow equipment on some of the trucks that don't run every day. We did get a couple loads of salt in since it was ordered. The Essex Bridge is open to traffic. Contractor still working off the roadway on some cleaning up the site. There'll be some seeding in motion going on there. And when the county gets a chance, we'll put some rock on the river access area. next two items are on the agenda. And Mother Nature provided some dust control on A Avenue, but also, Jericho was over, the DOT paid for some dust control, probably need more on the A Avenue. We got some on A Avenue and 170th Street, and then down by the sand pit where the asphalt plant is working. Also, there's some dust control down there. This, of course, is part of the DOT's, a result of the DOT's long detour for the bridge on 59. It takes people around to Red Oak and down to Essex on 34 and 48, so it'll be a challenge for us. Any questions about the update? Let's turn our attention to the next item on the agenda, the award a contract for the bridge on 190th Street. So BRS Perrin 145. You have the bid, well, it's not the bid tab, but the three bids from the contractors. This is taking out a 180-foot bridge, 180 foot by 20 foot wide bridge, putting in 189 foot, 30 foot 6 wide. United Contractors was low with a bid of $1,704,845.85. And I need a motion to award that contract, please.
Motion to award the low bid.
Yep, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion to award the bid to United Contractors Incorporated. Judy seconded. Any discussion on that? The bids were $704,845 was a low bid by United Contractors, and then AM Coron bid $1,706,936. And Christensen Brothers Incorporated bid $1,828,030. So the low bid was United Contractor. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. If you could turn your attention to the next paper, be resolution 60-2023. This is the board authorizing me to do digital signature on this contract you just awarded.
On this, JD, I was thinking about this. Whenever it's all done and final payment's made, does that mean you can sign off on that final payment?
No, this is the contract award.
To award the contract?
Yes.
Okay.
I so move that we approve resolution number 60, 2023 to allow the engineer to sign off on the contract.
Okay. Got a motion?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll vote, please.
Mayor,
Yes.
Holmes.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes,
Okay, I've got one here. Do you guys have one?
Yeah.
This one work?
Everybody to sign.
There you go.
You can have this one if you want. The rock petition that was removed from the agenda today will be in 2 weeks.
An evening,
For
okay.
next evening meeting.
I had another question on I missed a call from, tried to call him back on the bridge over there by Bartman's on J53. On the grinding of that. I drove across that the other day.
Mhm.
What is the schedule on that? What's the plan?
When the grinding outfit's available, I don't know the schedule.
Has that been paid,
No,
the final payment hasn't went out on that deal.
Correct. We have not. That's why.
Holding up to make sure they'll fix it. Okay, why don't you hang around here?
Do we have any plans on B Avenue or anything?
Well, it's,
Is it,
sounds like just regular road maintenance needs to be done on this stretch. I'm not sure which piece of B Avenue you're discussing.
Between the curves, maybe.
I'm guessing, is it the blacktop part that goes, yeah, there's a curve and then it's blacktop all the way to,
Seems like
it's,
fine, that first little stretch, but then I used to take it all the time, and then it's that after the curve and on, that's when it's.
that little straightaway there to the stop sign?
You're talking B Avenue and 220th?
South of Shenandoah, so.
Yeah, so south of Highway 2, you go around the curve and on B Avenue. I think Daryl Shabon lives right on the corner of the curve. and-
It actually starts off as A, and then it curves around and turns into B.
Yes.
Yep,
So it's on the seal coat part.
yes,
Yes.
Only remedy for that right now would be to grind it up so that we patch it. And it needs to work.
That's one of them to consider in the list of priorities.
6.
Yeah.
Right.
All the priorities, we'll put that on the list to think about.
Thank you.
All right,
thanks, Judy.
next up in the addition, or on the addition agenda, number 6, we have, secondary road department expenditures with Tom Wagner. JD, hang around, you might want to just hang up here. We'll talk about this.
Tom Wagner, Page County. And I would like to read this here about infrastructure. The basic physical and organizational structures and facilities, as in buildings, roads, power, supplies, needed for the operation of a society or enterprise. And so I guess I would ask Judy on that, because there is one meeting where you did talk to another supervisor about roads not being infrastructure. And I don't know, Judy, if that was, a mistake or.
It was taken out of context and it was just. Roads are infrastructure, but not, when I was speaking of the courthouse as infrastructure, so.
Okay. Earlier this year, I'm not so sure if this was this lady or not, I can't remember. It was talking about a road, the condition, granular surfacing, the poor condition of it. And you responded to her, the roads didn't get this way overnight and they weren't going to be corrected overnight. I don't know what length of term overnight is, but you've been an employee of this county for 30 years?
I've been out of it for 12 years, Tom.
But you were an employee for 30 years.
I was.
And so why, if it doesn't happen overnight, I wish somebody, and maybe you could let me know why it is allowed to continue. I mean, is overnight, is it 10 years, 20 years, 5 years? I know I made a presentation over 7 years ago and nothing has been done. And I know 2 supervisors have not been in office very long. You are very familiar with the workings of Page County, Iowa. Why, when you make that comment, it didn't happen that way overnight? I guess, why was it allowed to? Can you give me any insight on that?
Page County has over 900 miles of road to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to do that. And we depend on the engineer to take care of that. And you can't fix things overnight. You can't fix every single road in Page County. And that's just the way it is. You do your best. And I think we're trying to get some roads fixed, but you can't get everything done.
And you don't let utility companies dig right in the middle of the road. It's not ever let happen.
But the bottom line is, there's an old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there again, I have spoken repeatedly to supervisors about product being purchased, aggregates to be put on the road. I even was going to give you the figures that I had shown them in 2016. You chose not to look at them. You told me you had seen enough figures. What that showed was it goes hand in hand with the latest belly center dump trailer they purchased. Get another axle on it, you can haul more, so you have less number of loads. Well, when you quit or eliminate, I'll call it junk. It is the finer material that does nothing to do with road stability. If you're not hauling that, guess what happens, folks? Well, there's less loads to haul, dang it, sorry. Anyway, I get a little bit passionate about this because I've spoke about it for over 7 years now. When I was asked to be put on the agenda, and this is a recap, yes, I did. I did testing at my expense. Nobody wanted to dispute those facts. I would welcome any information on that. Earlier this year, I was here in this room. I was not addressed by the engineer, but apparently he contacted aggregate supplier, and that representative for that company spoke very unprofessional. He turned around, looked at me, and he said, well, he just scraped that off the road. Well, sir, you're absolutely correct on one thing. It came off the road. That's what we drive on, but I did not scrape it. I took it at a 2-inch depth to get a representative sample of what we drive on. And I know you said you've driven the roads. I don't know if that's just recently putting your signs up. I don't know how much history you have. There's a lot of us have a lot of history driving the county roads. And when you repeatedly present facts, not opinion, not emotion, and nothing is done, nothing has been done until this year when there's 2 elected officials made a motion, seconded it, and when that first was brought up on the video, you roll your eyes. On the video, what was it, a week ago, I spoke via telephone. As soon as Tom Wagner's name, you roll your eyes. I don't know if it's just a coincidence or if you have that much disdain for me. I don't know. I'm not here to, my agenda is not to sell a product. It is not to air dirty laundry. But when you present facts and people will give you that blank look, that hollow look, or they won't even look you in the eye. I have many meetings I have been to supervisors. I've had emails, I've got them right here. I've got photos. I get responses given to me. It's frustrating because there's only 2 things I'm thinking about. Are they really simpletons or are they just being dishonest with me? The responses are horrible. I mean, they make no sense. And so I do find it on the minutes when we talk about, well, the people must know. You recently stated that. Well, I don't know. I don't see in the minutes if we're going to save $100,000 a year by buying material that doesn't have all that fine, unneeded material that does nothing to stability of the roads. I sent all of you photos. I just took those photos. I think it was yesterday. We didn't get that much rain. My vehicle, yeah, it's got stuff hanging from it. The clutter, the fines, unstable material off the roadway. In 2016, when I made that presentation, then in 2017, there was about $20,000 worth of work done to 3/4 of a mile. I've got photos, news media, anybody can have them at any time. The road 1 year later looks just as nasty as it did before any work was done to it. And I stated then, it was a failed exercise. We fast forward, I talked about Edge Rut on M63. And I should clarify, a week ago, whenever I spoke, I misstated the road number. I was talking about M63. The edge rut, it was allowed to continue to get worse, wider, deeper. I sent photos. Pieces of asphalt surfacing were broken off because there was nothing, any load that was put on the edge of that roadway. There was nothing there to protect it on the edge. I made comments, sent emails, talked to supervisors. No action. Finally, and that was 2018, finally in 2019, material was placed on it, on the shoulders, and it was placed probably 3 times wider than it needed to be. And so with trucking, material, the information I got on emails, equipment, manpower, you're probably looking, let's say $175,000, $180,000. If you used 1/3 just to protect that and not be going out 5 foot, 6 foot, you would have saved $120,000. And I brought up in a meeting here, was it a month ago? I did not even know there's a resurfacing project in the plan, the long-term plan. If I would have known that, my gosh, I would have brought that up in 2020. Why would you knowingly put that much material out there when you had a project coming up that was going to be paid for with federal, state funds? And I did send the engineer, when I saw the plan, which I have right here, if anybody wants to see it, the detail on the shoulder rock, I said, oh my goodness, the slope, the width, it's going to underrun because of the excess material that was put out there in 2019. Too wide, too flat, inverted in places, and eventually motor graders were sent out, and motor grader was sent out certain spots. That material was bladed off of the shoulder onto the foreslope. Is that acceptable when you want the best for Page County tax dollars? And that project, M63, resurfacing, 2022. I sent emails, I made phone calls, started in May, maybe even April. Improper width equipment was used. The center line was not maintained as shown on the plans. I come in front of the supervisors, between the engineer, between 2 of the supervisors that did nothing. They didn't even want to hear what I said. The chairman, he even denied a timely request of mine to be on the agenda. But if you take those 2 supervisors that would do nothing, the engineer, and help from the engineering department, inspection, if you take wages, vehicles, benefits, that's $300,000 annually to the county. And there's no supervision on that job. It was allowed to be done in the wrong manner, totally not following the plan detail. We get people up here, why are my taxes going up? Well, I wish that person would have asked, why are we spending money on these things and it's not done right? The windows is a good example. They weren't done right. So you wanted, and rightly so, reduced pay. That is not uncommon on road projects. If it is not done correct, it's either removed, you take a reduction in pay, or it's remove and replace. That has been standard for years. And I've been involved in that industry for many, many years. It is unacceptable to me, and I think the people of the county ought to know it. I think it ought to be in the minutes. This goes on. If it's not in the minutes, like I've received people correspondence from other taxpayers, thank you for not letting it be swept under the rug. I don't know if anybody in this room would allow something to be done to their house, to whatever on their property, not be done correctly. Sit there and observe that, and then make full payment. And it's always easier to spend someone else's money than your own. And I hear things as far as on motor graders, well, it's in the budget. I don't know, I can't run my checkbook, or it's in the account, so I'm just gonna spend it, you know, I can't do that. Maybe everybody else can. As far as on I heard things all of a sudden, something about a cab, the bigger cab. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if anybody's ever been in a spray plane, an aerobatic plane. You're not there for comfort. You're there to do a specific, you're trying to achieve a specific result. You're not there. If you want to lounge back, then you need to be going to the movie or whatever. And so I hear things like, they're like, just unbelievable to me that people say things like that, because it has nothing to do with getting the result. And the result should be an acceptable surface for people to drive on, safety. I sent photos to you. You should have seen the piles of sod along the edge of the roadway. It's that way today. I looked at it this morning as I came here. So I'm in a tractor with a grain cart. Here comes a vehicle. What? I'm supposed to baha up over piles of material that are 16, 18 inches tall. I also was in my pickup, had a trailer. The trailer tires, legal width, but they track a little wider than the vehicle. I meet a grain trailer. I think he's probably somewhere around 90,000 pounds. I can't get over anymore unless I want my trailer bouncing 2 foot in the air. I don't think I should have to put up with that. My tax dollars are paying for that. Your tax dollars are paying for that. We talk about it, nothing happens. And then the engineer did say, last meeting or the meeting before, blades are out and they're shaking the dirt out of the windrows. Well, folks, can somebody tell me where they're shaking that dirt on? Would it happen to be the roadway? The same roadway, the photos that all three of you have received. And this is not the new saying, you know, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result. I said the one meeting, trust but verify. I can't trust. I trusted 7 years ago, 3 supervisors. It made sense. Nobody said, Tom, you don't have your facts straight. Nobody said that, but nobody took action. And I think accountability, when you pay somebody, you should expect the best. And I think you've even made that statement. You expect the best for the taxpayers. I don't think it's acceptable for things to have happened repeatedly. I think the step in the right direction was on the aggregate purchase this year. But if you're going to save money, you've got to reduce that application rate per mile because it's unneeded, because you are not putting that extra fine material on the roadway. But I think sampling ought to be done. When you see those areas in those photos, that is excess fines. You have to have particles of an appreciable size in order to offset that, to bring it back in line with what you're buying. And that hasn't been done, it hasn't been addressed. And I'm saying why? And is it acceptable?
Tom, that's a good question there. JD, how often are we gonna sample that rock for? First, why don't you come up here where I can see you? I can't even see you clear back there. Can you come sit up here, please? What's normal on that? What's the?
They're producing.
I mean, as we haul that out of there, how often do we sample to make sure it's meeting what our requirements were for that new standard we set a few months ago? How often do we sample that rock? As we're hauling it out of there from this next year.
They would run gradations every day. We would get those twice a week.
So today, there's no check.
Not today.
No. Anybody with your department run their own sample.
I got a couple aggregate guys.
Well, my concern is from the way the producer's representative spoke to me, I would not trust him.
No.
There's no way.
Day at the rock, the day at the rock where we were out there, when we were asking about these different gradations, the different piles, the different standards. And the one that we ended up having done with less fines in it. And that same representative told me, well, from a couple hundred yards, you couldn't tell the difference in the piles. So that was not, I mean, I don't know, that was a crazy statement and it's ridiculous. So anyway, trying to say it's not that big a deal. Well, we want to make sure we're double checking things, double checking their numbers, and they should have no problem with that. So I don't know how this works. So do we have a way we can sample every now and then?
Not right now, they're not correct.
Well, I mean, once we're hauling, we'll know what we're getting.
Right, and we're not all out there, because they're out of the road, so.
Okay.
And if you're busy, you don't have time, fine, grab a sample. You got it dated, the source, put it in the back room. When you have time, run it. I mean, I don't know, when somebody talks like that, their integrity to me really went down. And would I trust them? I don't know, if your airline pilot talked to you that way, would you want to get in the plane and take off with him? You might end up like 9/11, you know? I mean, my gosh, people's integrity and what really got me about that certain situation. You're the customer, I'm the customer, you're the customers, all of you. And somebody that's gonna sell you something, talks to people like that. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised his employer didn't, if he knew about it, have a little conversation with him. And as far as when we talk about, you've got raises, I do believe, since you've been here in the county, substantial. And in the private sector, it's on performance and on projects. They got to be done on time so you don't get penalty. I know what 7 days a week is. I know what long hours are. You do it because your thing is on the line, I'll put it that way. And when you're in charge of that project, the buck stops here. There's nobody else. And so you expect your bonus that year, your profit sharing, it's not going to happen unless you did it right. And so that's a heck of a difference working for a government than working for the private sector, which that's been my life. And so when I ask the question, where's this going? When I ask the question with your frustrated look, you've worked for the county for 30 years. I never got to work. I never had the opportunity to work for somebody that all we have to do is raise taxes and pay raises. No, you perform, you do it right. You can't sugarcoat anything. there again, I worked for turnpike authorities, I worked for state DOTs, different states, counties, cities, and even private companies. You get it right, or you don't get paid your full amount. You do have to correct any deficiencies. And so that is my heartburn, my concern on M63. I know you've taken field trips to look at roads, but I don't think anybody took a trip to go look at M63 and say, well, why is this? News media, they go take a video of a bridge pour. I don't think I saw a video of M63. Why is this? And so that is my point. The expenditures. We need to make sure we get the best out of each dollar that we can get. And there's a bridge pour. I talked to a landowner just the other night. I don't know if there's a hot load. He said there was on that one approach. That concerns me, the state spec. You are supposed to make sure that concrete is placed to where you can finish it before that initial set. It concerns me if that was a hot load, if it's not workable, is it consolidated properly around the steel in that approach slab? And that's why I did ask JD for time documentation on load times when ready mix was loaded, when it was done, discharged, because there again, who's going to pay for the grinding? And if the grinding does solve the issue of somebody hitting their head on the top of the cab when they go across it with a loaded grain truck, what about the integrity? What about the longevity, the service life of that? And that's, we have to live with M63. It's done. It's over. We've got to live with it. I hate it. I think we deserved better. I even asked you personally on that striping. It's been over a year, or it's been a year pretty quick. I said, who's going to pay for it? You said, well, I guess I'll have to write a check. I asked if you were going to write a personal check. Nope. So guess what? That comes out of the secondary road department. I'd rather see good clean rock put on those nasty spots that you saw in those photos, instead of going back paying for striping that should have been done if that wrong profile was removed, like back in July when I told Chuck Morris, get it off the road, get it replaced. Then the striping would have been done. Instead of doing the striping, the shouldering, oh, well, now let's come back. Months later, after Tom Wagner's been sitting there, Alan Armstrong, Chuck Morris didn't care about doing anything. Chuck was right. What he knew about it, he could put in a thimble. But like I told him, that's not your job. I said, Chuck, your job was to make sure this is done right. And that's, I just want to bring this up just to say, going forward, let's get smarter. Let's not work harder, spend more tax dollars. Let's just get it right. Because we don't have time to do it right the first time. I don't know how you come up and have time to do it the second time. I thank you all for your time. Thank you.
Thank
As far as
you.
on that sampling, we'd like to look into that. I would anyway. What you guys think?
Yeah, I mean,
Making sure we just check those samples so we are getting the rock we ordered. And that's a step in the right direction.
And that striping. I drove that yesterday in the daylight and I can see the dash. The yellow dashes in that north 3/4, the last 3/4 mile of that project. I came back last night and it's like heading southbound. I don't understand it, but when I hear a statement putting the county at jeopardy, I'll guarantee you that center line, if something happens, an attorney is gonna be wanting some money for his client, that whether the client was right or wrong, if it happened in that area or there's deficiency on that center line marking, I think you got about a 99% chance an attorney's gonna be wanting some money for him and his client. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. On that grinding of that road, to think about that a little more, is that inside that project, one, how far they're going down, is that gonna mess up the integrity of that bridge approach?
I think it's about a 3-4 range.
The minor, and they're gonna pay for that, we're not gonna,
It's not a bid, I think.
okay. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, next up, we have an application number 7 for Sunrisers Popcorn to use the courthouse grounds.
I so move that we approve the application for the Sunriser Popcorn to use the courthouse grounds for the Christmas parade.
Yep, okay, we got a motion there,
Second that.
a second on that, discussion, that's a good thing. We'll vote on that.
Mayor,
Yes.
Holmes,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes,
Okay, that done. All right, I'm just gonna sign it. Where do we sign that? We not sign it? Motion. Okay, you can see that. All right, next up, we have, the wind orders. Been working on that. Todd, I got your email, sent to us some of the information you found.
Yeah, so the couple of things that I sent to you and Carl was basically dealing with conservation, and then the other thing I came across was just I hadn't really noticed it in our current ordinance, but wanted to double check on private airports. We may not have any private airports, but there may be somebody that's running a crop duster or, airplane out of there, and they have like a field runway or something that probably needs to be considered in that. And then, like I said, just getting that conservation piece in there. And then when we get to the point when we're kind of talking through some of that, then, I think there's another piece of that is having the applicant, have the Iowa DNR review the location of the turbine on the applicant's, I guess, land, to make sure that there isn't any issues with, waterways or anything that would impact the Iowa, conservation or DNR so that they would approve that. I noticed several counties, Palo Alto County, Ida County, the ones I've been looking at, they have done quite a bit with their conservation, and they're working with DNR. So, but yeah, so those were just a couple. That one was from Woodbury County. I think that a lot of that is where I pulled that one out of. And so there's a lot of information out there. We'll just have to kind of piece it and make it our own.
Yeah,
Going forward, but I think it's important things that we need to keep in mind.
include in there.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to look at that, Judy?
I didn't see it until I got here. I told Todd.
Okay. Trying to get this, we can get this draft done. I flipped through it all, tried to go through it page by page. You have an ordinance with you? You have it?
I do, not on me, but I do have.
I can just kind of talk about it a minute here.
Okay.
There's it's on, as you go in order here, let's see, what section is that? Section 3. Oh, let's see, I think it'd be in section 10 of section 3. There's some wording there like, affirmation that studies were completed. Showing that, I just thought maybe by a third party approved by the developer and the board of supervisors, just who's gonna do these studies. I think that's kind of vague. Just as a third party and both sides agree to it. There's a little wording change I thought might be good. Let's see. One more thing I caught. Do you have any thoughts on that little thing there? Just some wording to kind of
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff like that that we're gonna have to be
Cause he's gonna have to put this draft together so that everybody.
more specific about who's doing what and.
Yeah, cause it's like, who does the study? I don't know. Affirmation of studies were completed. Well, I don't know how to. I just thought that clarified a little better, and Carl could give his
I know.
opinion on that.
On some of them, they actually had Department of Agriculture people come out and do studies.
On certain things.
on
This is
certain
on the,
things. So,
on that, that section I didn't go on, this talks about the sound levels and the shadow flicker. So that's what they're studying. So some third party comes out and they're supposed to do this study to make sure that the flicker doesn't go off of onto a non-participant and that the sound level doesn't either. So I just thought that was a helpful wording. I'd suggest that if you guys are all right, to Carl to look at it and see if
Yeah.
that wording works.
Yeah.
Then, okay,
yeah, I would go ahead and submit that to him.
any thoughts on that, Judy?
No.
Okay,
Just writing down.
okay, I just, some third party approved by both sides, I thought would maybe be good wording. Okay, and then I went, let's see here. Of course, we already talked about this, and I think he's probably done it. I didn't look at the most recent. Adding the Wabash Trail to our list,
And what?
the Wabash Trace
Yep.
Trail, whatever trace. Just including that in our list of parks.
Okay.
Okay, and then, let's see, I think we already fixed that. We've got some places, Carl left things, I think, for us to maybe fill in the blank. Back on the road use agreement. Let's see, where's it at? Talks about, developer shall place an escrow account at local financial institution, funds the amount of the blank. For reimbursing the county on any road costs occurred with damaging our agreement, damaging the roads. So we gotta come up with a number there. I don't know if we do it so many dollars per turbine, does that would affect how big the project is? I really don't know. We've got to come up with a number. We know how much it costs per mile on the road. We've talked about that a lot here lately.
Can you snip those and send it like just to me and Judy, email?
Just
it?
those,
So.
Start
things that-
researching.
So we can research that. a
Yeah, I
little bit
can.
and Look at some of that stuff. that you have.
basically, the spots are, if you go to the road use, the most recent road use. And there's a couple places he left the line that we need to decide a number
Okay.
about. To actually print this thing, we have to have a number.
Okay,
So need to do a little research on that, how much, because we need to kind of do an estimate of. Probably a pretty sizable amount of money to cover if they would tear up.
I have a
There
little
goes.
comment. Can
Yeah.
I comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
How can we put an amount of if inflation, what it costs? That's my concern. Like we put a dollar amount, but in a year gravel or whatever might be way more expensive.
true.
So I don't know if there's a way that we can add in that there would be inflation or whatever.
Yeah, and
That's a good
I gotta
point.
look at this, some of that, this might have that in there. This money would be what's sitting there in a local bank that could be got. There is also lots of different sections of here, restoring the roadways, maintaining them, time of completion, where they're supposed to get this done right. Just by the rules. We're just setting some money aside to make sure if they don't.
So I wonder if there's a way to put it in there as a percentage. So you're saying, do it as a percentage. So they have to pay 100% of the research or, the repair costs. And just do it as say that instead of giving a dollar amount.
Yeah, well, we need to.
Because then
we
you
need to
recover
know
it
what
for
to put in the bank.
inflation.
We're putting it in the bank. So
Oh,
that-
okay.
And that is
So
here.
this is more of the escrow type stuff.
This is some money sitting there that if they don't complete it, then we can,
So then you probably
Yeah,
have to say, and you're responsible for any overages
yeah.
at that point.
It
That's what,
says,
so you say, okay, you have this certain amount of money in the bank. And the repair is more than what's in the bank, then they're liable for covering anything over that amount.
yeah, there is wording in here to that. I'm gonna go over every section here. Just that needs to be looked at. 'Cause we gotta come up with a dollar amount there. Based on something, miles. Maybe we just do a dollar amount per mile in the project area. You have your paved road and your gravel road or bridge that it's all gonna have to be. Somehow come up with a number to have some money sitting here and then also, have inflation factors in there,
I
so
don't know how you're ever gonna determine all of that.
it's too hard to get,
Yeah,
it's very hard to get enough to cover everything sitting in a bank account. But we also have wording in here about they're supposed to do it. So if we have a large amount of money sitting there and the fact they're supposed to do it, this is better than what we had in that it will ensure that their money is sitting there, especially to make things done in a timely manner to fix things. So I was trying to come up with a number. It would have to be pretty sizable. I just don't know how to base it. Maybe we can ask JD about that, a figure.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe.
It could be based on how much miles of roads there is and a factor there or something. But anyway, we gotta figure that out. That's something
Yeah,
highlighted here.
I would say maybe include JD on some of that and
Yeah,
ask him, and he's probably
How
got some
much?
ideas maybe
we need to get a
when you send that
fair
out.
amount of money and there's lots of other wordings you read through the road, part of this that does have, they gotta keep up the roads, they gotta blade the roads, they gotta resurface them if needed. All these things, but there needs to be some money sitting here that if the work hasn't been done, we can hire somebody to come in and do it. That's what this section is. Section 9, failure to complete the restoration. That's where we have to hire a third party to come in and fix it. Or we fix it and they have to pay us. We want some money there to do that if they don't complete the job. Okay, so that's something to look at. That's road use, I think it's number 9. Let's see here. There's also, if you flip on back to the back of that, there's and they've done this before, we've seen this happen, if they would fail to use the designated haul routes. He put a spot in here, a daily fine. If they're not using, there's roads they're supposed to use, if they're not doing that, fine, we have to decide a fine amount. That's a number we've got to come up with. That's big enough that would deter them from leaving these roads, these designated haul routes. They don't tear up roads they're not supposed to be on. Okay, so that's right at the very end of the road use agreement. You'll see that, or he highlighted it. Right here.
Can I ask a question or make a comment?
Yeah. Sure.
Going back to Todd and the DNR, and maybe this is kind of what you were referring to, but there were also, I know for 2 years, there was a guy out, doing studies on birds and stuff around in the area where there were going to be wind turbines put up, off and on for 2 years, but it was, to follow his patterns. He would always come in the area when bird migration was over with, or when the eagles were sitting on their nest or not in the area. And we, as neighbors, talked to him several times. He was contracted through the wind turbine company to come out and watch wildlife. But he would very openly tell you that it didn't matter what he reported on his paper the days that he set out, that they would liably just change whatever he had reported on his paper. Then when it came time that the report was ended, we asked for that reporting. And I want to say we even asked the supervisors at the time if they got that report. And it was not a public knowledge report. So I was just wondering if there's anywhere in there that you can put reports like that they're doing, studies like that they're doing, that it needs to be public knowledge, or that the supervisors need them studies to be able to review what's going on in our county and what they have came up with in the county too. If there's any way to be able to check what their studies are showing too, to ask for that paperwork, because to my knowledge, it was not public knowledge and nobody could see the studies they were doing.
Yeah, that's good.
Can I ask who this is?
Could you state your name?
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is Ashley Yurkowski.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks, Ashley. Okay, that's a good point. Number 12, when you're going through there, I just flip back, there is, and I think I do remember that. This says affirmation that the applicant has identified significant migratory flyways and nesting areas. I don't remember exactly how that happened, but some wording there to make sure that we are made known, so make public, maybe, or some wording of that nature. We could, these studies are able to be seen, so we know what's going on.
And then I wonder too, then maybe is it, they get a good independent third party to do the studies and not somebody that the company hires,
Yeah,
because they could contract their own person who's gonna tell them or tell us.
yeah, so
Nothing
maybe
to
the
see
same
here.
wording. Third party approved by both developer
Yeah.
and board of supervisors, do the study and make them public.
Yep,
So we could add that word in there.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay, does that sound okay to kind of send those suggestions on? Everybody good with that?
Yeah, can you just put us on that? So
Yeah, I'll
that-
try to kind of type these out
And
and then send them to Carlson, get these added in there. Okay, let's see, what else? You go back to decommissioning back here. There's, the very last page talks about financial assurance. Now, they do have the page before a way to calculate the decommissioning cost estimate. There's a chart here, the way they figure it, and have somebody, come in and work on that. But it says, we added this, financial assurance in the form of cash escrow or deposit. This part was different. The road just doesn't say a local financial institution. I'd like to add that it's local.
Yeah.
I think that's just an extra little clarification there, if we're good with that locally. And then, it's the amount of the total estimated cost, such as set by the most recent decommissioning plan, which changes every few years with inflation.
Yeah.
So that's just adding that wording, and to really look it over. See here, there was a section, where'd that go? I think that's all I had there. Those are my highlights I have. So basically, a daily fine is something we need to research or think about for not taking the appropriate roadways. And some way to figure how much needs to be set aside to fix the roads in a local bank. A number there, or two things they need to figure out. So, and if anybody wants to shoot around what they see or whatever, come up with some suggestions, I'm more than fine with that. There's the very first page of the road use agreement, here's something else to make a note of, I highlighted. It says at no time will security in excess of 500,000 per each wind farm be required. Well, that kind of limits what we're even talking about, but 500,000 doesn't fix very much. Doesn't go very far on the roads, we've discovered that pretty shortly, it doesn't fix very many miles of road. If they would, especially hard surface, if they get tore up. So I maybe think about that number, we would have to look into that number. It's on the very first page of the road use agreement. For most expensive things, the roads, as we keep talking about over and over, if they would happen to not do what they're supposed to, we need to have a way to cover that. Okay. So there's a lot to this.
Yep.
And we've been working on it for a long time. I really want to get it done. So if we work on those things, the next week, try to get that incorporated somehow, and your conservation pieces put in there.
Yep.
Maybe we have a draft, we can sit down here together and print off if we can get time, and we can look at it and see if we're. I'll put it on every week. We just
Yep.
gotta,
Get this,
so any of those numbers.
get this rough draft done, and then we can come back and do, we can go through it, page by page and.
And I don't know.
Finalize it, but
Yeah, we get this, I don't mind this being on for anybody to look at, and they can pour over it and see if there's something we missed. This rough draft we're working on. Maybe once we get these things put in there, maybe just get that on there as we're talking, just so people can see it.
yeah,
This will make the hearing a lot easier once everybody's seen it and had a chance to look at it, but the hearing should be
I would think so.
easier. So there's what I have for today. Anything else?
Still gonna take some more to get it put together,
It will incorporate it, yeah.
right, to get everything in there.
All the things we've talked through here. Over all these months trying to get this done. So I will try to work on that. And anything you guys see in those topics, put that together and we'll try to finish that part next week.
Okay.
if you can. So if that's all we've got on that, where's my agenda? There. Brought the board communication. See here.
I had a SWPCO meeting yesterday. And, and then we went to numerous jail meetings this
Yeah,
week, so. We had Shenandoah one Wednesday night.
College
Good.
Springs Tuesday night or Monday night, Tuesday night.
Was that-
Shenandoah.
I think that was Monday night and then
I
Clarendon was
think
Tuesday
so,
night.
Tuesday night, whatever.
Yeah, so, yeah, so,
I had a phone call. so
One more to go.
The bathrooms on the night of the Christmas parade, I know it's a ways out, they were asking those to be unlocked for
Yes.
3 hours. And, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be here around, I do it that evening, I'm not sure if I'll be there yet or not, so just something to think about. I have no problem doing it, but I may not be here. I like the Christmas parade, but we might not be able to make it. So we'll keep talking about that, but they would like that to happen.
Yeah,
So
they should be open.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
they always have been. So
we'll get that done. I'm just gonna put that on the radar.
if you can, then I might be able to do that.
Okay, we'll make sure we don't forget to do that. Okay, anything else on communication? We did not have claims, did we? I didn't see any. Okay. All right, no claims. We'll go on to the minutes here. Let's see where they. You work on them, see. Here.
Yeah.
Compare this and see. There. That's the forward here. Here, Judy, here's one I worked on here.
Thank you.
Jim. Yeah, mine match. Exactly the same here as Todd's.
yeah, they're exactly the same.
On that, I'd like to make a motion to pass the minutes from October 19th amended to meet Iowa Public Information Board guidelines.
I'll second.
Okay? Any discussion on that? If there's none, we'll vote.
Mayor,
Yes,
Holmes,
Yes,
Clark.
No,
okay. Get that done, and we'll make sure these get over there. Okay, well, we got to the easy one now. Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
so moved. Seconded.
Todd seconded.
All right.
Judy made the motion. All right, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming.